Here are the top stories for today, July 8, 2019. Indigenous peoples leaders appealed to the Filipino community in the United States to be vigilant of giving support to organizations as these might be channeled to the CPP-NPA NDF. Meralco has announced lower power rates for consumers this July. Senator Sonny Angara has filed a bill increasing the social pension of senior citizens. And Dumaguete artists promote the protection of seagrass through their artwork. Good day, I'm William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. Indigenous peoples leaders on Sunday appealed to the Filipino community in the United States to be vigilant in giving support to organizations asking for financial assistance, saying these might be channeled to groups affiliated with the CPP-NPA NDF. Rom Dulfo reports from Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Filipinos abroad are quick to provide financial aid to their kababayans hit by typhoons, earthquakes, or other natural disasters back home. In giving assistance to vulnerable sectors, Filipinos stand on the front line to help. But this time, tribal leaders who are in the U.S. for a series of speaking engagements urged Filipinos to be more discerning in giving support to organizations asking for donations, saying these might be channeled to groups affiliated with the CPP-NPA NDF. They said Communist Front organizations receive funds from other countries, including the U.S., in the guise of marginalized and pro-poor programs. In a conference here on Sunday, they rallied the Filipino community to resist the armed insurgency movement in the Philippines. After hearing the stories of struggle, Filipina Joanne Capitan said Pinoys should always be vigilant in giving money to groups asking for their assistance.
Hope ko lang na makatulong lahat by knowing these issues, and somehow we can help them just by being aware and, like they said, being vigilant about the groups behind siguro all that disturbances.
In March, the European Union vowed to investigate allegations that its assistance funds were being funneled to the CPP-NPA. The Philippine government has requested the EU to immediately cease its funding being channeled to groups acting as legal fronts of the CPP-NPA. The tribal leaders who are in the U.S. to expose the CPP-NPA's atrocities say a huge step in ending local armed insurgency in the country is here in the hands of Filipinos abroad. Be vigilant. That's the call of indigenous peoples leaders before the Filipino community here amid reports that organizations are being used as conduits for funding the New People's Army. Rom Dulfo, Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Senator Christopher Bongo said he supports the House leadership bid of Davao City 3rd District Representative Isidro Ungab. Go on Sunday said his support for Ungab was influenced by the formation of the Duterte coalition that has endorsed the latter's candidacy. But the neophyte senator clarified that his support for Ungab should not be misconstrued as meddling in the affairs of the lower house, noting that both chambers of Congress have the freedom to choose their own leaders. Go said his expression of support for Ungab was out of respect for the Duterte coalition, which was formed by Hugpong ng Pagbabago and the Hugpong sa Tawong Lunsod. Both parties are Davao-based and founded by the Dutertes. Although Go said President Duterte will not interfere with the speaker race, majority of members in the lower house remains keen on seeking guidance from the chief executive. Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte Carpio and Davao City 1st District Representative Paulo Duterte on Saturday met with Representatives Lord Alan Velasco, Alan Peter Cayetano, and Martin Romualdez, who are said to be the three frontrunners in the speakership race. The creation of the Duterte coalition led by the Duterte siblings is widely seen as an effort to break the impasse in the speakership issue. The National Bureau of Investigation on Monday filed estafa charges against the founder and officials of the Kappa Community Ministry International Incorporated. Facing charges of 5 counts of violations of the Securities Regulations Code and 8 counts of syndicated estafa are founder Pastor Joel Apolinario and 13 other officials of the group. Also named in the charges were the firm's incorporators, namely Nonita Urbano, Junie Apolinario, Nelia Nino, Maria Pela Sevilla, Jacqueline del Castillo, Cristobal Barabad, and Joji Husay. Also included in the complaint are Corporate Secretary Reina Apolinario, Director and Treasurer Modi Dagala, and Corporate Directors Benigno Tipan Jr., Marnilin Maturan, Ricky Taer, and Margie Danao. According to one of the complainants, who is a female senior citizen from Dinagat Islands, she was duped of her retirement fund amounting to 500,000 pesos, while her 38-year-old son invested 45,000 pesos. Another complainant said she invested 30,000 pesos. The three are the first of CAPA's 3 million members to formally file a complaint. PCOO Secretary Martin Andanar has criticized Iceland for calling on the United Nations Human Rights Council to investigate the Duterte administration's war on drugs. PCOO Secretary Martin Andanar said Iceland has no moral ascendancy to draft a resolution condemning the government's anti-drug campaign. He said the Philippines has no embassy for Iceland from which it could gather information, and it has not even made moves to establish an embassy here in the country to know the true situation. He also noted that Iceland is acting unfairly even as the country's legal institutions and human rights are functioning. The UN Council is expected to act on Iceland's draft proposal on Friday. A cop was relieved following a complaint based on a viral video. Meanwhile, Malacanang eyes holding cabinet meetings in different regions. More on these and other news around the metro from Janice Cabe.
In other news, Malacanang is planning to schedule cabinet meetings to be held in different regions. Cabinet Secretary Carlo Nograles made the announcement in line with the creation of the Cabinet Assistance System, which will bridge the gap between the national and local governments. He said President Duterte expressed openness to hold cabinet meetings outside Malacanang while touring the provinces. The National Capital Region Police Office on Sunday immediately relieved an alleged abusive cop caught in a viral video from his post while being investigated for misconduct. NCRPO Chief Guillermo Eliazar said Senior Master Sergeant Arnulfo Ardales from Police Community Precinct 3 in San Juan City will be transferred to District Headquarters Support Unit of the Eastern Police District. The viral video posted by city resident and complainant Aaron Estrada showed Ardales hurling invectives at him while he was lining up to buy food. However, Ardales claimed it was Estrada who cut the line in front of him. Meanwhile, about 60 passengers of MRT-3 were offloaded at the commuting station after one of its trains suffered a mechanical failure. The passengers were immediately boarded on the next train. The MRT management apologized for the said incident and will implement preventive maintenance. The MRT currently has 15 working trains per day and a 7-minute headway or waiting time. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Janice Cave.
Still to come, Meralco has announced lower power rates for consumers this July. And the Anti-Red Tape Authority has begun a dialogue with Transport Network Vehicle Services or TNVS to resolve issues with LTFRB. More on these when the PNA Newsroom continues.
This is a story of how we struggle to be recognized, respected, promoted, and protected. The story of falling into the trap of lies and deception of the communist terrorists.
Pagikan ko sa 5 years, hangtod 10 years. No? Pag abot ako og 10 years, kapaw na kumusulat, basa, mo dismantog armas, mo target shooting. So, giingnan na po ko nila nga pagpamaestro na sa mga lagyo nga sityo. Sa 12 anyos ko, nag-full time na po ko, nagpa-MP na po ko. Nahimo kong squad leader, isa ka tuig sa NPA. Tapos, nagpahulay ko. Samtang nagapahulay ko sa among sityo, nag-organize gyapon ko. Nag-organize ko para daon ako dito sa mga taktikang bakwit. Sa mga nang magbakwit sa Haran, sa mga nang magpanilakpayan sa Manila, kung tanaw na to ang gitudlo sa communist terrorist group. Dili maayo.
Meralco has announced lower power rates for consumers this July. Meralco said it is lowering power rates by 10 centavos per kilowatt hour, which translates to a 21 peso decrease in the bill of a household that consumes 200 kilowatts a month. This followed 2 straight months of lower power rates. The power distribution company attributed the lower charges this month to a lower transmission charge for residential customers and reductions in taxes and other charges. This is in compliance with the Energy Regulation Commission's order to power distribution companies to implement a decrease in power rates by refunding their unused regulatory reset costs plus interest. The Anti-Red Tape Authority has begun a dialogue with Transport Network Vehicle Services or TNVS groups to resolve issues with ride-hailing firms. The LTFRB earlier announced it will prohibit hatchback operators and drivers from becoming TNVS licensed. A group of TNVS drivers and operators initially announced a transport holiday on Monday due to alleged problematic policies of the LTFRB. Metro Manila Hatchback Community and Laban TNVS leader June De Leon said the ban on hatchbacks will affect more than 1,200 drivers and operators. Anti-Red Tape Deputy Director General Ernesto Perez said a circular approved by LTFRB in February 2018 should allow the registration of hatchbacks as TNVS following a transition period of 3 years. Perez said they have set more dialogues this week with concerned agencies and parties. Economic managers are hopeful that the slowing rate of increase in consumer prices last month would help propel the country's economy this year. Both NEDA and DOF assured that preemptive measures are in place to mitigate the impact of weather-related shocks on food prices and uncertainties in the international oil market. Finance Undersecretary Gil Beltran said the government is streamlining programs aimed at improving the food supply that would drive down inflation. Several measures are also in place to prevent the spread of the African swine fever, which is a major threat to food supply. Four drug suspects were busted in separate raids in Cotabato City and nearby Pigcawayan, North Cotabato on Saturday. Some 6.8 million pesos worth of shabu were seized from the high-value target. Among the arrested suspects were Nards Atis. PDEA said Atis was under surveillance for the past 3 months as he allegedly deals shabu drugs in Cotabato City, Pigcawayan, and other nearby towns in North Cotabato and Maguindanao provinces. 10 jumbo packs of shabu weighing 500 grams with an estimated street value of 3.4 million pesos were seized from Atis. Earlier, 3 suspected drug dealers were collared following a sting operation at the parking lot of a government hospital. They were identified as siblings Mogya and Norma Medsil and a certain Bai. Seized from them were 10 jumbo-sized packets of shabu weighing 500 grams and worth 3.4 million pesos. Livestock raisers in Ilocos assure ample supply of pork in Ilocos region despite the threat of African swine fever. Meanwhile, a provincial board member is shot dead in Surigao City. More on these and other news from the provinces from Joyce Cudis.
Livestock raisers in Ilocos region are still capable of meeting public demand, especially on pork and beef products amid looming threats of African swine fever. According to the National Meat Inspection Service, prices of meat products are still stable despite the limited importation. In Surigao City, riding in tandem shot dead a member of the Provincial Board of Tinagat Island Sunday morning. The victim was identified as Winifredo Olofernes, who succumbed to a lone bullet wound on the head and was declared dead on arrival. A 50,000 peso reward is being offered to anyone who can lead to the identification and the arrest of the suspects. Meanwhile, a live whale shark was spotted swimming Friday morning along the Davao Gulf. A 12-second video posted by Alejandro Ramos shows the juvenile whale shark. It gathered more than 1,000 reactions and 3,000 shares. According to the Davao-based marine biologist Darrell Blatchley, butanding or whale shark have been present in Davao Gulf as it is part of their migration path. But irresponsible garbage disposal of people threaten the marine species. Since August last year, several of them have been washed ashore dead after getting sick from eating plastics. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Joyce Goodies.
Up next, Senator Sani Angara has filed a bill increasing the social pension of senior citizens. And Dumaguete artists promote the protection of seagrass through their artwork. The PNA Newsroom returns after these reminders.
Hangtod karon ang biktima nga kadaghanan dito gyud sa amuha ang mga bata-on. Hangtod karon bisan gani kanang gamay pa kapalo na kapalo na kanang mga gagmay 5 years, 6 years, 7 years kapalo na modal og gobyerno. Kay mauman ang ilang ginabringwas nga kaning mga lumat gidala lang gikuan lang yun gikapital, gipangwarta, gibinuangan. So dako kayo nga kalapasan nila para kanamo sa mga lumat. Sakit mamalantungon. Sakit sabto na. So kana lang akong istorya. O naipangutan na, angutan na lang.
Madalas na nakikipag-engage sa mga estudyante dito sa New York, lalo na sa Fordham University, ang mga di umano'y lumad na dala ng mga front organizations ng CPP-NPA. Ang kanilang agenda ay humingi ng pondo para sa kanilang operasyon sa Pilipinas. Pero ngayon, iba ang naging diskusyon ng mga totoong lumad o IPs dahil binigyang linaw nila ang mga estudyante kung ano ba ang tunay na kondisyon ng mga IPs sa Pilipinas. Hindi pondo, kundi suporta lamang ng mga Pilipino at ng mga foreign students dito sa Fordham University ang kanilang hiningi para matapos na ang armed conflict sa pangunguna ng komunistang rebelde.
Actually, I'm really enlightened and parang gusto ko pang umiyak kasi I could really feel how they were abused.
I was really excited to come here today and hear about what the IP leaders had to say. I think that their story is not one we hear a lot in mainstream media.
Senator Sani Angara has filed a bill increasing the social pension for senior citizens. Senate Bill 133 aims to increase the social pension of indigent senior citizens from 6,000 pesos a year to 12,000. The bill also widens the coverage to include senior citizens who do not receive any form of pension. Citing a study by the Coalition of Services of the Elderly, Angara noted that more than half of the country's senior citizens do not receive any form of pension. Angara's father, former Senate President Edgardo Angara, authored the Senior Citizens Act of 1992 and was also one of the authors of the expanded Senior Citizens Act of 2010. And in our foreign news, a 7.0 magnitude earthquake jolted Indonesia's eastern north Maluku province on Sunday evening. The quake occurred at 10:08 p.m. Jakarta time, with the epicenter at 136 kilometers of southwest Ternate and a depth that revised 49 kilometers under the seabed. A tsunami warning issued right after the quake has just been lifted. There have been no reports of casualties or those injured or serious damages caused by the said quake. Indonesia is prone to quakes as it lies on the so-called Pacific Ring of Fire. In sports, talk and text is now at the top of the standings at the PBA Commissioner's Cup, while Barangay Ginebra secured a spot leading closer to the quarterfinals. Terrence Jones led a furious attack in the two middle quarters to demolish Blackwater Elite on Sunday. Jones took center stage with game highs of 36 points, 16 rebounds, and 14 assists for his third triple-double. Troy Rosario and Jason Castro led the locals, who did their part with 14 and 13 points respectively. A top two finish is rewarded with a twice-to-beat advantage in the 8-team quarterfinals. Meanwhile, Justin Brownlee churned out a new personal high to let Barangay Ginebra breeze past Magnolia Pambansang Manok. Brownlee led the Kings to a 6th win in 10 games with 49 points. Japeth Aguilar added 18 points and 9 rebounds. Stanley Pringle, 13 points, 5 assists, and 4 steals. L.A. Tenorio drilled in a total of 12 points. Seagrass is an important part of the marine ecosystem as various species depend on it for food and shelter. Dumaguete artists are promoting the protection of seagrass through their artwork. Janice Cave has the story.
Two young budding artists in Dumaguete City are collaborating with environmental groups in the push for the protection of seagrass. Sil Flores, a self-taught artist practicing sustainable living, said they want to educate and influence other people about the importance of the protection of not only seagrass but also marine ecosystem and the whole planet. Meanwhile, Angelo de los Santos, who is also a self-taught artist, said he was inspired by his drive to raise awareness about life-giving seagrass. Seagrass provides shelter and food to a diverse marine community. It is the habitat to many fish invertebrates and the main food source for such creatures as green sea turtles and the vulnerable dugong or sea cow. However, seagrass is now deteriorating due to human activity. The artworks of Sil Flores and Angelo de los Santos are on display in the exhibit dubbed Life-Giving Seagrass Educational Art Project, which opened recently at the Flying Fish Hostel. Proceeds from the exhibit sales will be donated to the Big Blue Network to support its marine education programs with local kids. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Janice Cave.
The country can expect fair weather for most of the week. Pag-asa said the ridge of a high-pressure area improved weather in the coming days. No weather disturbances were forecasted to affect the country in the next 4 days, other than the southwest monsoon, which will bring out cloudy skies and scattered rain showers and thunderstorms. Let's now check out the weather forecast for Metro Manila and the rest of the country. Let's take another look at today's biggest stories. Indigenous peoples leaders appealed to the Filipino community in the United States to be vigilant of giving support to organizations as these might be channeled to the CPP-NPA NDF. Meralco has announced lower power rates for consumers this July. Senator Sonny Angara has filed a bill increasing the social pension of senior citizens. And Dumaguete artists promote the protection of seagrass through their artwork. Thank you for watching another edition of the PNA Newsroom. To check out these and other stories, visit the PNA website or follow the Philippine News Agency on Facebook and Twitter. For more stories about the government and how it serves the Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. And today is Monday, the start of a brand new week, and I'd like to say that I'm back after being away for one whole week and I missed all of you. And that's your daily dose of the latest news and information that you need to know. From the PNA Newsroom, I am William Theo. Good day.